Hello, everyone. My name is Paulette Lee, and I'm a producer at Microsoft for webinars. And I'd like to welcome everyone to the webinar on identity governance with Wipro, Edgile, and Microsoft. This webinar should be about 45 minutes in length. We are going to include a 10-minute Q&A at the end of the webinar, so please stay until the end so we can get your questions answered. Please feel free to post any questions in the chat window. You all have access to the chat. And we'll bring them in at the end, as I mentioned. At that time, you're actually able to unmute and ask questions by voice or come on camera as well and join us. We are broadcasting this through Microsoft Teams, and it is being recorded by the Microsoft Corporation. By joining us and participating, you are giving consent that you'll be part of the recording, which the deck and recording will be shared with you within about 7 to 14 days after the webinar. Be sure that you have registered with us to receive the recording. So the registration link is in the chat window. So if you haven't done so, please do so now. Thank you in advance for adhering to the Microsoft Digital Code of Conduct that's also in the chat window. So at this time, I'd like the speakers to introduce themselves, and then we will get started. Samba, Lucienne, Randy, Samba, let's start with you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you very much for that. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Samba Koita from Microsoft Security, and my role is to work with Microsoft strategic partners to build joint offering to secure our customers. So looking forward to having this conversation with you. Lucia?
I'll go next, Samba, yeah. So my name is Lucien Chiron, and I'm a consulting partner at Wipro Cybersecurity and Risk Services based in Zurich, Switzerland. And my primary focus here is to drive the adoption of Microsoft security, identity, and compliance solutions across Western Europe. And I'm therefore very pleased to have been asked to join this webinar on Microsoft Entra ID governance, for which Wipro is a launch partner. Randy?
Thank you. I'm Randy Weimer. I am a consultant with Edgile, which is a subsidiary of Wipro, and I've been doing implementation of the Microsoft Azure identity systems for the last 15 years, and I'm excited that they've finally produced enough capabilities in the cloud that we can move the workloads into the Azure Entra ID system.
Absolutely. So I'm sure, Randy, we're going to have this conversation in this webinar. So before we start, I just wanted to say huge thank you to Wipro and Edgile team for being a launch partner for our IGA solution among a very few actually other partners that were also launch partner as well. And so if you have identity governance implementation projects or Microsoft security project in general, I'm sure the Wipro team will be more than happy to help you, and I have the confidence that they have the skills and capabilities to help you. So with that, again, I'm extremely pleased to be with you today. I understand that, Lucien, you might have some questions for me before we get started. So maybe let's start with the first question. Hopefully, not tough questions to start with. Yeah, let's start with the first one.
So on a very high level, Samba, so many organizations claim to be cloud first, right? But the reality is this is a hybrid world. So sizable organizations are running significant numbers of legacy applications in their on-premise environments. So given this hybrid reality, how does Entra ID governance aim to provide this holistic coverage that encompasses legacy on-premises systems and, on the other hand, the new age cloud solutions?
Yeah, thank you very much for asking. I think I have some answer here. So many customers are already relying on the Microsoft Entra ID governance to kind of easily provision identities into hundreds of SaaS applications, but this is not the most difficult part, right? And so, now we can provision identities from Entra ID, directly to on-premises applications that relies on user identity stored in SQL database, for example, or LDAP, or that really also supports the scheme standards for provisioning. So This means that you can use the Microsoft Entra ID governance solution to govern access to your on-premises applications with some out-of-the-box on-premises connectors as well. So let me illustrate that a little bit. So if you've been working with Microsoft, you know that we usually like to take Contoso as an example. And so let's imagine that this organization uses Microsoft Entra ID governance to provide access to some on-premises application that manage critical manufacturing processes, right? So, and this application might be deeply integrated with the organization and has been around for years. And this is not really uncommon, right? Especially in the manufacturing sector. And let's say that this application also doesn't support Scheme, but rather relies on OpenLDAP servers to manage user access. So with the Microsoft Entra Identity Governance, we can actually do the provisioning using, again, as I said earlier, LDAP, or even files, basically, where you can have the identity information. So by doing that, Contoso can increase employee productivity, manage costs, and also manage risk by periodically reviewing access and revoking access if it's no longer required, right? So this just shows that, as Randy was saying initially, that we have invested a lot on the cloud part using SaaS application provisioning, but we also have heavily invested into inbound and outbound provisioning for on-premises applications as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Follow-up question would be, so as you're well aware of, right, traditionally identity governance administration involves a relatively significant amount of effort to manage the entire identity lifecycle process. So what are your views about the AI, artificial intelligence, ML, machine learning plays in the area of identity governance administration to reduce the burden of administration? And because it's a hot topic at the moment, right? Could Security Copilot be of help here somewhat?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you asked, and I'm sure here on the webinar, and I hope that we all heard about Microsoft Security Copilot. We've been publishing a lot of blogs, sharing videos about the key capabilities that we have here with Microsoft Security Copilot. And in fact, we had a number of sessions at Ignite that have been recorded. So we'll make sure to also share this information with you if you just want to go ahead and watch the recording. Now back to your question, Lucien. Of course, like securing access requires deep understanding of technology, but as well as business policies and regulations, which sometimes make the job of security professionals overwhelming, right? So the Microsoft Security Copilot is coming to Entra. This is something that we have announced to help automate some of the common tasks, troubleshoot faster, interpret complex, conditional access policies, and even helping designing the workflows. So in Microsoft Entra Admin portal now, so you can ask Security Copilot to explain in a very simple language, right? What is this conditional access policies does, why MFA was triggered. You can also use Security Copilot to troubleshoot identity scenarios, such as why this user couldn't sign in, right? And if you look at the embedded Security Copilot experience, we also offer a risk summary, remediation steps, recommendation guidance, and for each identity risk, and also helping you respond and our customers, of course, to identity risk, quickly, right? So we can really use that, Security Copilot, as I was saying earlier, to troubleshoot identity. Additionally, Microsoft Entra ID governance, admin can also ask Security Copilot to guide them when creating lifecycle workflows, for example, such as when you're onboarding a new employee within their credentials. So Security Copilot is currently in preview. We have a number of customers that are leveraging what we call our early access program. But just to give you here a little bit more details, the way the Security Copilot works is that we have a concept that we call skills that can go and bring additional insight, into the Security Copilot console, right? And so today we have a number of skills, and that can connect to Entra ID, finding, for example, the signing logs, finding the access reviews, which is directly tied to our Entra ID governance feature. Last but not the least, and I think Randy will touch on it later, if you look at our access reviews today, we leverage machine learning to also provide some recommendations, basically finding the distance between two users and saying we believe that for this particular user, this is the particular access package that may be interesting. So using Security Copilot has a product that will bring insight, but also we heavily rely on machine learning internally to provide some recommendations.
Okay, thanks a lot. What we also hear a lot from customers is what is actually the difference between Microsoft Identity Manager, MIM, and the newly released Entra ID governance. And if I'm already using Microsoft Identity Manager, what are actually the added benefits that can be expected if I transition from MIM to Entra ID governance?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think a lot of partners and customers are asking. And so as Microsoft, we are a cloud-first company, right? And we've been investing a lot into developing our Entra ID and developing IGA has Entra ID has a complete IGA solution. So if you look at MIM, and I'm sure Randy will be able to also provide some insight here. At Microsoft, we have extended the support for MIM several times already, and I think the latest information is up to 2029, which will give additional time, to our customers to plan their migration. So on the IGA part today, I think we have reached the feature parity where customer can confidently move from MIM to IGA, Entra ID IGA solution, leveraging the Entra ID portal, where we can leverage the key features. I'm talking about identity lifecycle, being able to synchronize the identity across several environments, and Randy will be able to share more on that in this section in a moment. So our plan is really that Entra ID AGA will be the replacement for MIM, but we also understand that a lot of customers are heavily relying on MIM today, so we want to make sure that they have enough transition period. And we hope that up to 2029, this will give us 6 more years of support for MIM, and this will give us enough time to kind of gradually move from MIM to IGA. So yeah, Randy, if you want to maybe give 1 or 2 comments here, it's be more than welcome.
Yeah, my contribution on that topic is it's not going to be an either or. It's the scenario where you can keep using MIM for things that it's really good at, and you can begin to use the Entra ID governance cloud solution for the things it's really good at, and over time shift where most of the work gets done. Eventually, all the work will get done in the cloud. So there's no urgency. It's not one or the other. You can easily take advantage of the features of both.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think up to 2029, that really give us time to, gradually move the workload from on-premises to the cloud. All right. Thank you very much for your insight, Randy. I know you've been working with Microsoft Identity for ages, and not saying any comments about your age here. All right. So in our next section, I just wanted to give you a high-level overview of our Microsoft Entra ID strategy. So actually, we've been changing names, and I just want to highlight the fact that and share the new names. And this is something that can confuse some customers and partners. And I've been Microsoft now for over 6 years. Also being in several waves of new naming conventions. So I just want to make sure that we are all on the same page when it comes to the naming and giving an overview of the Entra family, the different products that we have, and then I'll pass the mic over to Randy to really give us a little bit more deep dive on the key features that we have in our Entra ID governance solution. So with that, I will go ahead and present. You should be able to see the slides in a second. And I hope you can see it.
We can.
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, perfect, great. So, as you know, Microsoft is, evolving the identity vision to respond to today's challenges. So it's Microsoft started in 2000, so almost 23 years ago, with Microsoft Only Directory Services. That has evolved, has the world of cloud computing and security evolved as well, right? And in 2015, we presented the access control plane in response to advance in cloud computing. And now when I say we, it's Microsoft, we think of security and identity as a trust fabric, and a means of providing identity services to everyone, basically with an holistic secure access solution across identities, across endpoints, across resources, and network. And so organization can really eliminate here the access policies gap and configuration issues that can really have an impact in performance of traditional approaches to network. So basically, our goal here is to secure every identity, every resources, and everywhere, taking into consideration human identities, workload identities, working with customers, partners, devices, and in the heart of the strategy is really relying on granular access policies. And I'm sure you all heard about our conditional access policies, heavily relying also on machine learning and automation. And we have announced recently the new member of the Entra family that we're going to touch on a little bit here as well, which is the network complement. This is something that was missing. And for customers that are in their overall zero trust journey, so we think that the Entra, Microsoft Entra product family can definitely help into achieving the goals, right? And so now we're talking about Entra, but this is the new name. So it's basically Azure ID that is becoming Entra ID, but it's just the new name. I want to stress this enough. It's the same capabilities, it's the same licensing, and so no customer action is needed. Well, not really. You will have to update your documentation, right? So I guess this will be for partners and customers, but still, this is something that I think is more or less is manageable, right? And so if you drill down here a little bit, again, you will have the slides later. I don't want to read everything here, but basically what we did is just removing Azure ID and replacing it by Microsoft Entra ID. Right, and the detailed naming guidance is available in our Microsoft Learn platform. But you can see here, for example, the one of the hero features, which are the conditional access policies, which is now Microsoft Entra conditional access. So really to deliver our expanded vision for identity and access through the Microsoft Entra family. So the product is made of first category identity access management with our Microsoft Entra ID, Microsoft Entra ID governance, our main topic today, Microsoft Entra external identity, really managing collaborations, with your guest users, your partners, and really making the experience, let's say, seamless, right? The second product category here is what we call new identity categories, with the verified ID, which sit on the decentralized identity side of things. Microsoft Entra Permission Management, which is our CIEM platform, CIEM, Cloud Infrastructure Entitlement Management Solution. Basically understanding your identity posture in a multi-cloud environment. Microsoft Entra Workload Identity, so mainly for service principals. And as I was talking about earlier, the new category, right, which is the network access. We have announced that not too long ago, our Microsoft SAC platform, so Security Service Edge, with two main use cases. The first one is securing access to internet for everybody and everywhere. So this will be the Microsoft Entra Internet Access with secure web gateway type of features, and then Microsoft Entra Private Access, which really allows you to kind of access to your private resources securely, RDP or SSH into some of your servers. So this is really the comprehensive view of what we can do with the Microsoft Entra family. Of course, for each of those categories, we could probably spend hours, but my goal here was just to give you here a very high level overview. So with that, I'd like to move into the our main topic today, which is the Microsoft Entra ID governance. And so with that, Randy, if you like, can you please, give us your view on what Microsoft Entra ID governance is?
Thank you. Yeah, so what Microsoft has produced here is a cloud version of MIM in a sense. We've got features in the Entra ID governance stack to support the inbound provisioning, that onboarding at the top of this circle. If the source of data is Workday or SAP SuccessFactors, then Microsoft has delivered a comprehensive cloud service that does all the hard work. It's just a matter of configuring it. If the source of data is not Workday or SAP SuccessFactors, then we need to contribute a little bit of code to take the data from the source, and it could be HR, it could be a student record system, at hospitals, it might be information about the providers, the physicians working in the hospital. Whatever the source of that identity data, we can process it, and in the Microsoft Graph, we can expose a bulk skim endpoint and do bulk transactions of this identity data into the cloud. And that's how inbound provisioning gets launched, with a couple of mature built-in connectors. But if we're using some other source, then we've got to put a little bit of code in the mix. But Microsoft offers this bulk skim endpoint. Once that identity makes its way into the Entra ID directory, then we've got lifecycle. What are we allowing that user to reach in terms of access? What entitlements do they have? What groups are they in? What systems are we doing outbound provisioning to? And that changes per user over time. And there's a set of features around entitlement management with things like auto assignment based on data, basically an RBAC model. People in this department with this title at this location, they automatically get this access package. And if those characteristics change, we can take that access package away, and we can make it instantaneous, or we can allow them to have a grace period, which is an innovative feature. Instead of immediately taking something away when data about a user changes, we can allow it to remain, let's say, for 30 days. And so all of that, is a really sophisticated configuration capability. I don't have to write any code to take advantage of all this stuff. I just go define it in the Entra portal. I've got privileged access. So we've long had just in time, just enough elevation of rights in the Azure Active Directory for Azure AD roles, now Entra ID roles, and Azure RBAC for resources. Microsoft has now delivered a more general just-in-time, just enough with PIM for groups, privileged identity management for groups, where I can take any cloud security group and configure it for PIM and allow the workflow to add or take the person out just in time, just enough. But the real power of this new PIM for groups is that with the outbound provisioning, I can take action when I add someone into a group. I can take action in an external system and elevate in some external system in a just in time, just enough. So it's now become a general solution where I can look at options instead of password vaulting. I can do the Microsoft preferred just in time, just enough elevation really with any system. And then over to the left here, I've got access recertification. So I can, point and click, and for cloud-based resources, I can just define an access review, and I can put it on a schedule and it'll recur. What's innovative is that instantiating an access review is just a graph call. So I can, in reality, take data from any system, instantiate a review via a little bit of PowerShell scripting. And I can take the results of that review and apply it to whatever I source that data from with a little bit of scripting. And if the system I want to manipulate doesn't offer me easy scripting, then we've implemented a pattern where we simply open a ticket. Hey, we've run the review. These people didn't retain their access. Open a ticket for each of them and have an admin remove their access. Yeah. So Microsoft, has put all of the necessary primitives and components into the Entra ID governance solution. It's just a matter of organizations learning to use it.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I will tell you, having been in this game for a long time, learning to use these cloud services is a lower, easier bar than the legacy on-prem identity systems, including MIM or Oracle or SailPoint or even tools like Saviynt. This stuff is simply, it's been built in a cloud-first way, and it's a simpler model.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you, Randy. And I guess, there are, as you can see on the slide, some of the questions that, this solution can answer, right? So who are the users, and when they should access to which resources, and when they have access to some of the resources, what are they already doing? Do we have any automated way to verify that they still need to have access to some of those applications? And actually what happened when the user change roles or move out of the organization. So we actually have additional slides. So I know, Randy, you talked already a little bit about the inbound provisioning. So not sure if you want to touch maybe one or two sentences here, or if you want to.
I'll just add a little bit of color to the outbound side. The inbound side is pretty straightforward. Everybody understands if I've got a business record about an employee or a contractor or someone who needs access to resources in my environment, I've got to get a digital record of them into the environment. And that process is mature, sophisticated, complete. The outbound side is the innovative thing. And Microsoft is in their application gallery. Every month, there's another dozen or so I see on the list of native wizard-driven in the gallery outbound skim provisioning, where some application has worked with Microsoft to say, hey, we are doing it the modern open standards way. But we mentioned in the intro, Microsoft has delivered a capability to be able to do provisioning and deprovisioning to legacy on-prem applications. And the reality is it doesn't matter where the app actually is running. It can be some external service. But the mechanics of that, this outbound provisioning, are effectively building on 20 years of MIM. The same SDK that we use with MIM when we want to provision and deprovision in some target system is available to plug into the Entra ID governance solution. It's called an ECMA host. So we can take the DLLs and the components that we've developed for MIM and simply plug them into the Entra ID Cloud solution. And we talked about LDAP and SOAP and REST, and there's even an off-the-shelf one that we just contribute PowerShell scripts. If I can manipulate the data in the target system with PowerShell, then I just put the scripts into the config. And I can go all the way and develop my own code. If the system I need to manage is complex, then I can integrate simply by writing the code necessary to manipulate that system's data. So it's a complete story.
Yeah, absolutely. So provisioning inbound, provisioning and outbound provisioning. So this is, of course, one of the key components. But also wanted to talk a little bit about the access certification and access reviews, Randy. So would love to get your perspective as well.
Yeah, there's an interesting data model in the Microsoft solution. So if what I want to review is effectively a group in the cloud, then I just point at the group in the portal and I say, run a review, and here are the parameters that I want. I want the manager to do the review, or the group owner to do the review, or I want them both to do the review. There's even an interesting feature. I want the user to do their own review, and I can stack those decisions. So it's extraordinarily flexible, and for cloud native resources, trivially easy. More significantly, there's another dimension or layer to this, which is Microsoft in their entitlement management in the cloud has introduced this concept of a thing called an access package. And an access package at one level can be viewed as a bundle of entitlements, where one request, one approval, one assignment results in a person getting access to many resources. And when I define that access package, I can define its review process. So one decision supports the review of many resources. So a huge improvement over the classic way of every discrete entitlement needing its own review decision. So it's a step up and beyond anything that we would have been able to do with MIM or nearly any of the other products or tools in this category. It's a little bit of a learning curve to get your idea around the data model, but once you understand it, you'll recognize the power that it brings.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also understand that many companies are struggling with the joiner or leaver and mover type of actions in the environment. How to make sure that if I move from my current job and I'm landing a new job, that I will have the new set of access packages or access to applications, but still removing the old access that I no longer really need, right? Or if I'm leaving an organization or when I'm joining, right? So I think this is our identity lifecycle management. So yeah, what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, lifecycle workflows, joiner, mover, leaver. Every organization has a unique list of things they want to see happen when someone joins or someone leaves or when their title or role or department changes. So it's a challenge then to develop a packaged software solution that meets all those unique requirements. And what Microsoft has done is they've built a set of built-in workflows, the standard things like enable the account on the first day of work and send the password to the manager. Things like that are just point and click, turn it on. But what the power of the solution is the ability to go beyond what Microsoft has pre-built in a codeless way, low code, no code, using logic apps. So I can use the lifecycle workflows to trigger logic apps And in a logic app, I don't need to write code. I can do an enormous list of things in a codeless way. But if I do need to write code, then I can extend even the logic app with an Azure serverless function. Well, really, that function, that serverless REST API, can be anywhere. So the solution is complete. And certainly, I would encourage organizations to keep it simple. Go low code, no code when you can, but know that the toolkit supports any scenario, any requirement you might have.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Thank you very much for your insight, Randy. So very interesting conversation here. So I guess we are almost nearing the end of our webinar, so it went way too fast. I just see that there is one question, and so yeah, I see that Lucian, you have already responded. So basically, Randy, there is this question if it's possible, for example, to have an administration zone. So basically a capability that allows to isolate user per entity, per company, that are part of the same group. So I guess, Lucian, you have already provided the information about the administrative unit, but yeah, Randy, if you can.
Yeah, what I'm interpreting here is the way the Entra ID governance system can be utilized. If I have on the user object information about that user, then I can define an access package or a group and say, people with these characteristics automatically get this access package or automatically should be made members of this group. And it's the act of putting them in the access package or putting them in the group or removing them that trigger these other behaviors, the provisioning and deprovisioning. So I think if I'm understanding the question, the solution has great power and utility when I am able to do things based on data. And I'd always prefer to use existing business record data to drive these life cycles. Because the alternative, it's part of the solution as well, people making requests and getting approvals. But if I can take those human steps out of the workflow, then I've got a better solution. So my bias is always to automate when I can and not make people go submit a request and make someone perform that approval.
Yeah.
But we've got both.
Great, thank you very much, Randy and Lucian. So if there are additional questions, please feel free to add them in the Q&A section or reach out to us directly. And so with that, I'd like to hand the mic over to Pauline. So over to you.
Wonderful. Thanks, Samba, Lucian, and Randy for that great insight. And again, if anyone has any questions, please come off mute at this point. Otherwise, we will ask you to fill out a very short survey that's in the chat window to help us improve events like this in the future. So thanks everyone for joining. And oh yeah.
About administrative units, which is a feature in the Entra ID directory where you can delegate administrative authority over users based on properties stored on those users. There's, so that's available. That's part of the overall stack. In the entitlement management system, there's a concept of a catalog. So I can take resources and access packages and group them into catalogs, and I can delegate authority over the administration and management of those catalogs to non-IT administrators. If I'm managing my finance system using Entra concepts and tools, then I can empower the finance department to manage their own catalog of resources. And that's an example, but I can delegate, empower the business unit that owns the resource to administer the details of their resource and its access. So it builds on top of administrative unit kind of ideas.
Great. Thanks for that additional insight, Randy. So thanks everyone for joining. Again, the recording will be shared with you in about 7 to 14 days. And with that, I'll let the speakers say goodbye, and thanks all for joining. Take care.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.